It's not easy being a child actor, but Corey Feldman has survived the many charms of Tinseltown and become a better man for it. If you've seen an 80s classic movie, there's a high chance that Corey Feldman is in it. His boyish good looks and acting versatility had him playing a teenager well into his 20s, earning him the reputation of being the quintessential 80s child actor. In today's list, we'll be taking a look at the top 10 Corey Feldman movies of all time.
Ike, it's me, your best friend.
Number 10, Meatballs 4. One of the most underrated slapstick movies of the early 80s, Meatballs might be one of the most influential comedies of its time. The first entry in the franchise, directed by Ivan Reitman, featured the first starring role of Bill Murray. The Reitman and Murray duo would later become famous for comedies such as Stripes and the legendary Ghostbusters.
What do you say we just let you blow off some steam? Get out whatever you got to get out. Let it out in the open. Come on, just do it with me. Breathe. It's okay. Let it out. It's okay. Let it go. Come on.
By 1992, Meatballs had lost a lot of momentum. After 2 sequels that failed to live up to the original movie, Meatballs 4 was supposed to be a much-needed swan song for the franchise. The thing is, there wasn't going to be a Meatballs 4 at all. A small Corey Feldman movie called Happy Campers was transformed into what we know today as Meatballs 4 to cash in on the popularity of the franchise. Sadly, this movie failed to capture the success the franchise desperately needed, bringing the Meatballs movies to an end.
I was born sure! Hit it!
Okay, here goes!
Number 9, Rock and Roll High School Forever. By the early 90s, Corey Feldman had already made a name of himself as one of the most prolific teen actors in the business. When the news broke about a potential sequel to 1979's Rock and Roll High School, teenage heartthrob Corey Feldman was the obvious choice to play the lead role.
Any rock and roll high school would be proud of. So my question to you is, are we gonna let this important, creative work?
In classic high school comedy fashion, the plot of Rock and Roll High School Forever follows a group of rebellious teenagers, led by Feldman, who must fight against their strict principal with the power of rock. This sequel features a cast of all-new actors, with almost no returning characters from the first film making an appearance. While not as commercially successful or culturally impactful as the first movie, this film managed to become a modest cult hit. Feldman's acting is one of the most remarkable things about this movie, particularly his undeniable singing talent.
That's impossible. There is no way.
Malarkey! You gotta save the school from the uncool.
Number 8, Dream a Little Dream. This hilarious body swap movie came at a very turbulent time for the young Corey Feldman and his battle against illegal substances. It's also the third film where he would co-star with his lifelong friend, Corey Haim. The pair was known as the Two Coreys, becoming a brand that achieved mainstream fame and collaborated on many projects throughout their careers.
I don't need it, all right? I didn't need it last night, Digger didn't need it the other day on the football field, and none of us need it now!
After a freak incident forces the aging Professor Coleman to change places with the young Bobby, the professor has to race against time to change the consciousness of his wife and to fix Bobby's dysfunctional life. Dream a Little Dream came in a weird period where age swap movies were in vogue. Just a year before, in 1988, Tom Hanks' Big proved to be a major box office success. Sadly, the same could not be said about Dream a Little Dream. That said, the film still managed to get a sequel in 1996, where the Two Coreys would reprise their roles.
You don't understand what it's like to be a kid in today's society. I'm trying my hardest.
Number 7, Friday the 13th Part 4. Ironically titled The Final Chapter, Friday the 13th Part 4 is one of the most iconic entries in the long-lived horror franchise. Jason Voorhees returns to Camp Crystal Lake to terrorize even more nosy teenagers in increasingly violent ways.
We didn't find any boy.
Feldman plays Tommy Jarvis, a young boy obsessed with special effects and creating gruesome monster masks. Tommy Jarvis would become a central character in the Friday the 13th franchise, appearing in 2 other films in the series. Feldman wouldn't reprise the role of Tommy, as his age no longer matched that of the character. Just like the other Friday the 13th flicks, Part 4 was a huge commercial success. At the time, it caused a bit of an uproar with the older audiences, as it was the most violent and explicit film in the series so far.
Okay. What, Tommy? What happened? Where's Mom? Is she back? No, not yet. I'm gonna call for help.
Number 6, License to Drive. Another teen movie starring the Two Coreys, License to Drive is an irreverent comedy about a kid who takes his friends for a night in town, borrowing his grandfather's prized 1972 Cadillac. Released at a time when Ferris Bueller's Day Off was at the top of its popularity, License to Drive shared some of that 80s rebellious teenager spirit the decade is so popular for.
I'm allergic to dust and cardboard boxes. I gotta go.
Corey Haim stars as Les Anderson, the main character of the movie. Feldman, on the other hand, plays the role of Dean, Les's best friend. This wasn't the only time when Haim beat Feldman in an audition. Haim also got the role Feldman was auditioning for in Lost Boys, Lucas, and Murphy's Romance. Another piece of movie trivia, neither Haim nor Feldman had driving licenses when the filming of License to Drive began. Despite that, Haim was getting his license at the time. The actor left everyone speechless when he managed to pull off a complicated parallel parking scene by himself.
My school ID. Are you telling us that you left the house on your first night out with a license without a license?
Number 5. The Burbs. This dark comedy stars Tom Hanks and Bruce Dern as two neighbors who investigate a possible satanic cult that could be terrorizing their small and peaceful community. Feldman plays Ricky Butler, a teenager whose parents are away for the week. Ricky helps Tom Hanks' character solve the mystery of the cult, playing a comedic role that contrasts sharply with what was going on with his real life at the time.
I'll go inside and say hello. Are you chicken?
Go for it, Mr. Peterson. Yes!
Directed by Joe Dante, The Burbs is a dark comedy released smack in the middle of the darkest chapter of Feldman's life. Just after filming of the movie concluded, it became public that the young actor was struggling with drug abuse. At the same time, Corey Haim was fighting his own battle against substance abuse. Shortly after, both actors would begin a harsh road of recovery to recover their lives and their careers. Corey Feldman remains the best example of just how unforgiving the life of a teenage actor can be.
Mr. Officer, wait! I mean, there's these people, and they're in my parents' house, and they're eating all their food!
Number 4. The Lost Boys. The original teenage vampire movie, The Lost Boys, is often credited with revitalizing the vampire myth for a new generation. This blend of horror and comedy is chock full of 80s style, including some questionable fashion choices and a killer soundtrack. Feldman stars alongside Jameson Newlander as the Frog Brothers, self-proclaimed vampire hunters.
If you try to stop us or vamp out in any way, then I'll stake you without even thinking twice about it. Chill out, Edgar.
Together with brothers Michael and Sam Emerson, the group aims to destroy the plague of vampires that threatens the peaceful life of the citizens of Santa Carla, California. The Lost Boys is the first film where the two Coreys would act together, marking the beginning of their friendship behind the scenes. Feldman almost wasn't in the movie at all. He was fighting against a cocaine addiction at only 16 years old. He was fired and then rehired the following day after apologizing profusely for showing up intoxicated.
Try holy water, death breath!
Number 3. Gremlins. When we think of 80s movie classics, 1984's Gremlins is a name that immediately comes to mind. This timeless holiday film about a group of mischievous creatures that become even more restless when they eat after hours, released the day after the Ghostbusters debut.
Hey, Billy. Hey, is that a mogwai?
Mogwai, yeah. I'm gonna have Mr. Hansen check it out.
Talk about an awesome double feature. A very young Corey Feldman plays Pete, the main character's neighbor and close friend. He's the one that accidentally discovers what happens to the Gremlins when they get wet, causing the adorable Gizmo to spawn an army of wicked buddies. Feldman got his role after a similar character he was set to play in Steven Spielberg's E.T. the Extraterrestrial got cut. Gremlins director Joe Dante had a lot of praise for Feldman's talents, even calling him one of the best child actors in Hollywood.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5 new ones. Now can I have one?
Oh, I don't know.
Number 2. The Goonies. Yet another 80s classic, The Goonies encapsulates the magic and excitement of every adventure film into a single movie that can be enjoyed by the whole family. The movie follows the Goonies, a ragtag group of kids who discover an ancient treasure map, setting forth on an adventure to find the treasure of a legendary pirate.
Mikey, I cannot believe that you actually have something this cool in your house. You guys, my mom says...
Even before they met in person, Corey Haim and Corey Feldman were already going head-to-head in a competition to get similar roles. This time, Haim auditioned to play Mouth, the character Feldman ended up playing in The Goonies. It was thanks to this audition that the two Coreys finally met. The Goonies has become one of the most culturally significant movies of the 80s. In 2010, the mayor of Astoria, Oregon officially declared that every June 7th, the city would celebrate Goonies Day in honor of the movie being filmed almost entirely in the port city.
That's where you'll find the tree, the rich stuff. The rich stuff. That's it. No, the snack stuff. So it's near the restaurant.
Our number 1 pick is Stand By Me. It might sound hard to believe, but not every Stephen King story involves a killer clown or some other nightmare creature. Stand By Me is one of King's most orthodox novels, the story of a group of young friends whose lives change forever upon embarking on a trip to go see a dead body. Considered by King himself to be one of the best adaptations of one of his books, Stand By Me is a charming coming-of-age story that stands the test of time. Feldman plays the role of Teddy Duchamp, an eccentric boy who's defensive about his father, a World War II veteran who has been institutionalized. Feldman has confessed that Teddy holds a special place in his heart. All of the roles he's ever played, he feels like this one is the closest to his personality and what was going on in his life at the time. Stand By Me was a success with critics and audiences, and currently holds a Metascore of 75 and an IMDb score of 8.1 out of 10.
Besides, me and Billy found him first.
Yeah, Vern told us how you found him. Oh, Billy, I wish we never boosted that car.
Do you agree with our list? Don't forget to subscribe to our channel and be the first to receive new Top 10 videos from Stream TV.